We are back with the North American Challengers Open Qualifiers. Tenrec and Keg bringing you the second of our two matches today. If you're just joining us, we just got to see Supply and Demand Esports take a 2-0 W over Winthrop University, making them the first new team in 2024 VCL. Keg and I get to take you through one more of those today. YFP taking on the Glazers. Keg, both these teams, long-standing, very, very powerful players, and only one of these teams is going to make it through today.
I mean, where to begin with YFP, right? YFP has been around for the longest time. They've been, I mean, even the owner of YFP is like one of the most diehard Valorant people we've ever seen. They've, like, the whole team's been supportive of the scene for the longest time, but, you know, a lot of different rosters has come by from YFP. There's been a lot of different iterations. A lot of them have worked, some haven't worked, but this one has made the longest stretch so far towards VCL that we've seen thus far. They're one series away, and the Glazers, I mean, look, their logo makes me hungry.
That's a great looking donut.
Yeah, it really is. But in all seriousness, no, Glazers have a lot of formidable team players that we've seen in Challengers for so long. Last year, Tier 1 play, we have seen them since the very beginning of Valorant, and they're very recognizable names. But, you know, as a team, they have to be able to have that same cohesion that YFP has. And so this will be, I think this will be a 3-mapper.
This definitely has the potential to go that far. Both these teams have definitely proven themselves thus far. Neither of their routes have been good. Both of their previous matches that they had yesterday are really, really worth looking at. In fact, YFP's whole trail is kind of terrifying. Basement, then Elite, then Lucky 7. I mean, that is 3 pub stacks that are just absolutely glorious. And they'll have to face another one, the Glazers, who are just coming off of beating Blinn, and then that's right off of beating Nightblood. So, I mean, both of these guys, or both of these teams have just left absolute fire in their wake. And like you said, it is a group of players that have been around here for a while. This Glazers team has been, I think, a very similar or exact same 5-stack for maybe like half a year now. They've been together for quite some time. And this YFP squad, it was a pub stack originally that's like half VCL alumni and half people who are just so used to playing in Tier 2 anyway, that just got picked up by YFP, previously Mix Up and I think 8 hours of sleep. So really 2 squads that have just done so much prep work to come into today, and it definitely shows in the map picks as well. Starting out with Icebox, baby.
Ooh, okay, all right. So Breeze, Lotus, Ascent, and Bind. We don't have to worry about them right now. Icebox, Split, and Sunset. That is a nightmare combo to go with. Okay, so Icebox to begin with, that is a really interesting start for YFP, because consider this, Icebox just came back into the pool, in the competitive pool. A lot of teams are starting to strat out Icebox, and I'm sure they can sort of amalgamate their old strats as well from way back, but it's still a relatively fresh map, and so teams are still figuring out all the nuances and what they can really do to push the limits on Icebox. And so YFP, despite having Glazers be together for a long time, I think they do have a lot more resources behind them to be able to kind of parse out Icebox and find the best strats possible, at least in theory. Split, I mean, look, we just saw double OT Split for SAD Esports, the qual for VCL. I wouldn't be surprised that the same thing happens again, but I do think we go to Sunset.
I agree. I also think we go to Sunset, and I think that might take us to overtime as well. I think that these teams are so evenly stacked, particularly on their attacking sides. I think it's going to be very bombastic attacking sides, which is, I think, why you saw Glazers choose to start out on this attack on Icebox. They want to start their process. They want to get, you know, the ball rolling, and it's completely understandable considering that YFP have made this their pick. Icebox is a map that this YFP squad feels particularly strong on. 3 games on it, 3 wins so far. None of them have really been close. They look terrifying on this map, to be frank.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing I'm always curious about when it comes to a new map like this is, like, what are the controllers going to look like? And historically in the past, Glazers have played Viper, but I have seen some interesting people recently bring out the solo Harbor controller and, like, a neon composition. Now, if I'm qualifying for VCL, I'm probably not going to do that, but, you know, the range is there. It does exist. And so having the double Viper comp for both sides, I think will be a really cool way of dividing out Icebox and maybe promote more lurk style plays. And we're probably going to see a lot of rotates on top of it too, similar to what we had seen in the previous series. But at the end of the day, the controller's presence is going to be the biggest deal. You need to be able to deny the long ranges of sights that Icebox has. Even though it has been slightly changed with the rework, they still do exist, especially B main, even mid side, and boiler are, sorry, I should say tunnel to boiler, not necessarily as safe as it used to be. Gonna be a little bit more of a ferocious time when it comes to their controller play and just straight up line of sight denial.
Yeah, but still, the real thing I'm looking at is Glazer's defense here. Obviously, we're not going to get there for a while, but that's where their biggest weakness, I think, across this entire tournament was really exposed by Blinn. They put on an absolute clinic that map up against Glazers on Icebox previously. Their attack was just absolutely perfect, and there was really no answer that could come from the Glazers. There was no real reaction to the front line. The double controller setup on B site was consistent basically every single round. I'm not sure what kind of answers they have to that, especially if you're playing against YFP this time, who is known for running Harbor Viper on that double controller. They could absolutely do the exact same thing that Blinn did yesterday, but I mean, again, they'll have 12 rounds to figure that out, won't they?
Absolutely. And again, relatively newer map. Teams have been scrimming it. They've been stratting it out. I'm still expecting to see some wonky shenanigans coming through, and I really can't wait to see. But yeah, I mean, the Viper-Harbor combo is unbelievably strong. Harbor's not great in the mid round. He's great early on. He's great end round. So if you want to bring out the Harbor and you want to start on the defense, well, I mean, then you have a lot of post-plant potential to work with. So there's a lot to keep in mind. You have to stick together, or you have to completely disenfranchise yourself and play for gigantic flanks and lurks. There's not really much of a middle ground when it comes to the double controller comp. So I'm excited to see what plays out here. We're still waiting for the players to get all readied up into the lobby and see who they end up choosing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes and some irregularities from either one of these teams just because they want to hide things before qualing. But I guess we'll have to really see, right?
Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe the double duelist come back out, the Jet Reyna from either of these sides. I would love to see a team kind of bring that out and just try to get the 12 done. But I don't know. It's like the double controller is so well practiced on this at this point. You have so many set game plans for Icebox, and how that map operates is just everything everywhere all at once or nothing at all. You have to just launch everything you can and then wait for your cooldowns, and then on the post plant just do it all over again from the back seat. It is not a complicated macro really for these teams. It's going to come down to precision. It's going to come down to timing. It's going to come down to intuition. It's going to come down to these lurks that both these that all 10 of these players really are known for. I think adaptability is going to play a huge role on a micro level.
I think that's why I'm kind of like disengaging from a little bit more of the in-depth analysis on this one, because I feel like up until now, the qualifiers, there's only so much we can really gather from both of these teams. Because look, Glazers, they've been around the circuit for a long time. YFP, they're players too. They know what's up. They're going to be hiding strats. And I feel like we haven't really seen the full potential of either one of these teams yet. And so maybe not necessarily like running it down in the past for the qualifiers, but I think there's going to be a lot more complications and frankly a lot more nuance coming into Icebox specifically that we need to look out for. And look, I'm just going to fanboy again. I really hope it involves the Harbor.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to see for that late stage. Well, obviously, we'll find out very soon as these players are currently getting into lobby. Another quick reminder that this is not the only broadcast going on. We have 3 observer-only broadcasts also happening. So if you have the extra space, if you have the extra tabs, if you have the extra monitor, whatever, please watch the games currently going on in the lower bracket right now. 4 more teams are going to get eliminated by the end of tonight. We will be down to just 6 teams eligible for qualification after today, if you don't count, or if you count the 2 teams that are going to qual today. So the crowd, wild. The herd, really getting thin by this point. Tomorrow, of course, that last day, our last 2 teams going to qualify to catch some people up maybe. I don't know if we have the bracket graphic on hand, but Leet just beat Van Lin, so they're going to be facing off against Shopify Rebellion.
That's surprising.
In the lower bracket. Yeah, I'm very impressed by Leet's performance there, as I am as well by Ambrosia's ability to 2-0 BTR Fan Club. They're now facing off against Lucky 7 in round 4 of that losers bracket. Meanwhile, Thinking Men and Core and Nightblood Gaming and Zero Marksman X, I want to say it was Fisher that picked them up. Respectively, they are currently on map 3 to face off against Blinn and Burgerville, who are waiting in the wings things. I mean, I'm spitting out so many names that I felt like I've been spitting out at gauntlets for the entire year. I mean, we've been saying these same names over and over again for 12 months now, and it all comes to a head here. It feels so bittersweet seeing teams like SAD make it, and then watching like teams like Let Us Cook and Maryville University and St. Clair like fall like in the top 20 or something like that.
Well, it's because a lot of those teams, too, are dominating the offseason. I mean, you know, barring, say, the Tier 1 events, it was, like, mostly, you know, it just in the general Valorant community, we were seeing so many tournaments, like smaller ones, somewhat bigger ones, LANs, and all of those would just be a hodgepodge of teams and individual players that could either pug stack or just try to begin to form a cohesive team, like a permanent one. And they're the ones that are really being the driving force now for the VCLs. We are seeing, okay, can the last, when was August? Too many months ago.
Yeah.
How can that work now? Can you finally take everything that you've learned in the offseason and bring it home to face some of the best in the world? Maybe, maybe not. I think you're hiding strats, though, so you better show them this match.
It's true, yeah. A couple secrets certainly going to get revealed here. Both these teams constantly in the lab. If there is one team that I know is constantly labbing, it's the Glazers. That is 5 experimenters on that team. Notably Zachary, one of my favorite just like labbers in the entire game. He's constantly trying new stuff. He's constantly role switching and making new calls. And I'm excited to see him prosper on this Glazer squad as they have been so far. But I mean, the YFP team, we've been kind of dancing around it, but I mean, let's talk about this squad. Like you say these names,
they're
you
great.
tremble. Jonah, Moose, Bones, Physic, Pet, like you know these people because you saw them last year right here in Challengers. Like they are not new to this kind of thing. They've been playing in the Forge, in the Invitationals, with Tarek, with Ludwig. Like they've been playing at the very tippity top this whole way through, and they're not going to stop now.
Yeah, well, we're about to see how it does play out for Icebox. We think we have our agents selected. What are we going to go for Icebox? And keep in mind, too, I mean, Icebox just came back into the fray. So one of the first full official Icebox matches that we get to see on stream. Double controller, as you had predicted. We do have the Habracom coming through. Interesting choice, though. I like the double initiator composition that we see coming out from Zachary and Precision. The KO is a bold choice, but there's a lot of shutdown potential with not only his knife, but just general flashes to help that entry ability that we do see YFP lacking. But even on top of that, right, we have Null Command that can just steamroll any defense that the Killjoy may try to set up. And so we'll have to wait and see now. What could they possibly bring into the table? Ange, too. I mean, Ange and Jonah, the double Viper could, setup is going to be nutty to see what conditioning balls are actually going to be used and which ones are going to be bringing out big fakes.
I mean, YFP looking at this comp, they see Ange and they know, I think Ange knows that they're going to have a target on their backs for this entire attacking half. So much setup is instrumental and focused on this particular util, especially for the B push, which I feel like a lot of these teams are still leaning on as we're getting our feet wet into Icebox in this new act again. Glazers once again starting out on the attack. YFP, the boys in blue on the defense. Double controller versus double initiator. Again, Glazers coming off of a tough loss to Blinn last time they came here. They were able to wrestle it back and make it up here. YFP, they look good, they feel good, and they are on the prowl. Down into 2 we go, down into the defenses we go. YFP already on the hunt into T. They spot some heads, spot some bodies, but Precision spots himself on the kill feed first, and that's the go signal for Glazers to enter A.
Yeah, bodies discovered now. That means there's less on A. There is one single nanoswarm off the contact of the turret. That's good. Viper wall open. Oh, it's going to be a triangulation from both sides, though. Really narrowing down 410. What space can you find? Not much. Physics falls right away. Drone, barely an inch of life left with 23. Riku up atop. Good to hide away. Trying to avoid Penny. Oh, there's a lot to talk about Penny after this round. There's not many bodies left on the other side, Tenrek.
And just coming with this lurk, and as long as the front line can hold it down, which you can tend to do on Icebox, it should be pretty done and dusted. Indeed, Zachary is the only one who's going to get the credits, but that was a team effort for the Glazers as they'll be able to take that first round away.
Yeah, huge first round. There's that contingency plan too, having the Viper drop down from the new exposed window inside a tunnel that had not really existed before, allowing a much more lurkability from mid-side that isn't just a direct funnel at the mercy of whoever's holding Boiler. I like the mid-hold that we had seen in the beginning from the Glazers now, but they found a lot of info against YFP. It's up to YFP to change things up here. 3-stack now outside of A site, the KJ now hovering towards mid. They don't want to give that presence away into B site. They want it to be a funnel wherever these attackers go. Harbor Wall comes down. That allows a big scale up, but they choose to disengage. No presence immediately. That means it has to be B, right? And what do you know? YFP would be right.
Jonah just gonna confirm with a pot shot. Ensure that this mid presence is not there. YFP, they've got to cut their losses here. And that loss is territory more than anything else. Recon Bolt to clear out the front line of the B site, which is all they really need. And here we go. Glazer's going to set up shop. They'll actually spread themselves a little thin here before they'll go for the plant. Gives YFP time to not only grab a kill, but place a snakebite down on default. And so now the fight has to continue for the Glazers' sake. But Drone, taking that high ground with a simple blast pack, is able to deal with the rest of that presence immediately on site. Penny, quick shot to the dome though, with that classic, and it means that the Glazers have to hold it back from the box. Physic, unable to get much else done, but now that Penny has got a Spectre in hand, it's a question of how much more you can grab along the way. There's an Outlaw to get rid of, there's a Guardian to get rid of, there's a lot of potential for YFP to make this bonus as easy as possible, but with nothing util-wise, not even a simple Cloudburst, Penny has got to work with scraps, and he's got to dry peek it. Waiting out that Recon Bolt, just going to confirm him real quick. And at this point, it's a sense of when do you peek to find your one? Because you're dying no matter what here, unless you GTFO now. And the answer is none. Riku, 2 shots. 2 rounds now for the Glazers.
Yeah, I mean, again, the goal for YFP that round was just to get rid of guns and just hurt the economy for the Glazers in the long run. And while they did get rid of some bodies, it's not enough to do some detrimental damage. We'll have to wait and see, though, what the buys look like into this next round, but keep in mind, too, Glazers taking a page out of the last series book, playing it very slow in the beginning with the expectation that there should be some initial contact from any which direction in this default from YFP's end. And so far, the buys from the Glazers still maintaining that bonus. 2 sheriffs in tow, really hammering down on that economy. Penny, though, Penny's at the jungle gym, just waiting to see if anyone wants to push up at this off angle. Shock Dart won't find much. It's meant to hurt anybody trying to farm for the orb. There was that baited Q. Now it's up to the Glazers to see, okay, what is the best point of entry to get in and really conduct ourselves this round? We have to get rid of these rifles.
Starts with a little how do you do? Physic. And Riku trading sites. Doesn't really confirm a rotation too heavy for YFP, so Glazers still have this long pretty locked down. Bones. Waiting with that snowman on the early wall up to deny.
Recon Bolt finds nothing.
That's great timing on so much util that they just have to spend on nothing more than taking out yellow. Knife thrown on will confirm for Jonah, so can't toss up that screen right now.
Oh, wait, Physic has a shot lined up directly on default plant.
Yeah, this is so good. The call that has to be immediate, though. And
Cascade, deny the line of sight for the backside of Snowman.
Go in, first tap, first
Charcoal.
Arrow fired. And that will not land. Once again, Glazers are going to extend, but Physic is ready for it this time. Very ready. Zachary, the 2 frag back into Snowman, and sight has been taken by Glazers. Once again, perhaps too much sight has been taken by Glazers, but it's all about how much more damage you can do in the bonus. Zachary, not much more, and Riku actually able to skirt Penny just long enough to get the kill there. Now it's Ange holding it down with the Outlaw. This is very winnable at this point for the Glazers, but Jonah, good hold down. And now, with this spike now in default, Riku does not have an optimized position to deal the rest of the damage. YFP will pick up the pieces, keep 2 stable, and grab their bonus.
I will say, though, I love the way the Glazers are conducting their executes. Walls come down, utility, the flash, the respect given by not only just the whole board that we can see, but Glazers are just playing off of each other's utility as a cohesive unit. And if this is the way they want to conduct themselves for the entirety of this game, it's going to be hard for YFP to separate them apart and find those individual ones. That's going to be a really tricky game once we see consistent rifles. Hunter's Fury available now for Zachary. We could see it absolutely early on, given how much pressure YFP push and A main early on. But we'll have to wait and see if it happens again. It's always the default for the Glazers. Always looking to see if YFP can make that immediate mistake and reveal themselves. Poison Orb goes down. That's the fake, that B site control, bringing themselves mid to B. Won't be that approach just yet, and Physic does grab the orb, tries to bait out any sort of utility or presence, and no, nothing on A. That puts all those B-side defenders on guard. Precision, though, 0 point. Within range of both those controllers, they'll be completely suppressed if they're not careful.
Yeah, Owl Drone to slow the entry onto Jonah immediately. And they still don't spot Bones. Not much guaranteed here. That's what YFP wants. They want each piece of util to give them as little extra ground as possible. It's all about suppressing and making sure that in the end, for that post plant, for what you've got to give after the fact,
50 seconds.
All you have is the shots.
Good timing.
Great cascade
They
tossed.
know when the Glazers like to execute. In terms of time, that gives them such a big advantage.
Bones has to back out after that whiff on the recon bolt. Drone's gonna hop in with the blast packs and find Jonah on the high ground. Once again, Glazers, a rare occasion where it's better to go too far and then dial back to bite off more than you can chew before actually committing. Drone good for 2, and the Glazers, with the help of the screen and Drone's kills, have complete control over the front line of B site. And now, Precision searching for more than just that site. Riku, the lurk from Tube, unchecked, good for the refrag. And now a 3v1 that Physic, it feels impossible for him to win. Knows that there's this lurk from Kitchen, can at least deal with Riku first, but at this point, there might just not be enough time at all. Physic instead, perhaps a lurk for the exit from Tube, but cannot find much more than that. The Glazers are going to be able to find a third round, and again, it doesn't take too much spending.
No, we need to see a big adaptation from YFP now. They've been setting themselves up the same exact way round after round now. Again, I mentioned consistent rifles. This is the time for the change. Physic has those lineups for the shock bolts directly on default. Hasn't worked to stop the Glazers from planting, but he does have that Hunter's Fury. The Sova setup on B site would be huge here. Potentially even Penny. If there's time, the investment to an operator would be huge to shut down that B main aggression despite all the different Viper and Hobo walls. And the mid-side lurk too from Riku is yet to be checked. Big changes need to occur this next round. Penny does have Bladestorm to work with. Saves a little bit more money into the pockets of YFP. He can absolutely go for a big updraft into top over pipe, honestly, on the A main control and get an early headshot. He's the solo holder on A and he has to do it. He can't remain hidden.
Immediate blades for Penny. And
Fire
Blazers want it. Drone.
Movement.
What an insane move. Okay. All right. Ult for ult, I guess. Eye for an eye. And Glazers can take sight off of this. Very proactive Hunter's Fury from Physic to try and get on Spike Plant, but once again, it's not default. That's not what we're headed to. In Penny dives and Precision. Total denial. 3 kills from below, but Jonah is still upstairs. Still good until Drone can finally shut it down. Glazers, just enough coverage in the end game. YFP, they attempt to collapse a little earlier, and it looks just a little bit better, but the Glazers still have more than enough tools to succeed.
The problem, Tenrek, is that if you're the Glazers, you could not have asked for a better round. You used a showstopper. Yeah, that's not great, but like, you got rid of a Hunter's Fury, you got rid of the Bladestorm from Penny. Now there's a lot of late round ultimates that you don't have to worry about anymore. Now, that's not to say that YFP doesn't have any options. They're one off of so many very impactful retake ultimates. I'm looking at Reckoning, I'm looking at Lockdown, but I'm also looking at the buys, and we hopefully shouldn't see any of those this round, even if the orbs are farmed up. So back to a default again for the Glazers. All rifles except for a single outlaw from Ange. Good information gathering, and in fact, that's what you should be using this round for if you're YFP. You don't have the weaponry to fight them head on unless you 5-stack Deathball. Figure out exactly what utility they have to use where. Find out the timings this round. I mean, B-site's already been very good for YFP. They got it down to the number. But everywhere else feels like unknown territory still, especially mid.
And thus comes, you know, the ubiquitous question of Icebox is do you have to become a pioneer every round? Do you have to do, I mean, do you have to not do the same thing? Ange.
The Glazers can.
Yeah, opening pick here for Ange. And now the Glazers are going to turn that into a quick A rotation. YFP, they're stuck. They know that they have to wait for, you know, no lurker to be confirmed. They have to make sure that mid is more scoped out. They have no idea how much presence is where, but once again, it's a death ball onto A site. The rest of the Glazers just completely together. A total death ball. 100% meshed, and Zachary once again planting up top.
Spike planted.
Moose is able to get the early frag onto drone, so at least the wide angle's cleared. YFP can enter maybe a little bit earlier here, but now, in response, the null command is tossed in by Precision. And that's so much time immediately wasted from this front line. It doesn't matter how many sidelines you've got. It doesn't matter about this water wall. You're able to just stare down your opponents. Moose just gonna hold this down. Hunter's Fury on top. Zachary takes down one. Now the invasion from Bones. Stopped by Ange. But Penny inside. The Cloudburst is able to at least hold half. Now shot down to 26, and Ange can find the finisher.
He got that?
Once again, so remarkably close. But the Glazers are able to still get it done, and now we have a 5-1 game.
I literally blinked and Penny got that kill top of Bell. What was that?
Yeah, I don't know how he found that one. I don't know how he found that one. That was ridiculous.
The ultimates this game have been used so liberally from both sides. I thought for sure we would see that Hunter's Fury, the null command, not be used anytime soon. And this is the moment I've been waiting for, Tenrek. Penny with the operator once more. Now, I don't know how many Valorant historians are around here right now. But all I'm saying is that Penny is playing directly on an ice land right now, where he may have had a great performance in a tournament a long time ago. Yeah, you saw what I did there.
I did. That was great.
He's got to do it again. He's pushed up so much. And there's nobody on A. You have to hope now that maybe the Glazers rotate from B to A again for the op-defined value. And I mean, to be honest, Bones and Jonah are pretty good about stalling this entry.
Yeah, the slowdown is really good from this double controller. And the knife getting shot actually is huge here. Jonah can maybe drive swing this. Oh, the blast pack. There's so much coming their way. A Reckoning tossed on, though, so they have to act quickly. No, Jonah can't get any more. So now it's up to Bones to try and find more. But the swarm is too strong, and Bones is staring into the abyss. Glazers trade 1 for 1 for 1. And the ultimate's now getting traded the other way. Lockdown to guarantee sight will force Moose to back away into the depths of Kitchen and force YFP to once again play for this post plant. Once this is guaranteed, it is. Glazers can at least get on here with the help of the toxic screen that's depleting. Now it's fully gone, actually. There's not enough time. Penny's playing from the tube with an operator and has found the first. Can you still duck through this corner, though? You have so much else you need to watch. Penny is still turning around. They don't know how much presence is still on the front line of sight here. They can never guarantee it.
Inching forwards. Oh, up for an op. An eye for an eye. It makes all of Icebox go blind. Riku played a dangerous game at first, but just barely from the skin of their teeth, it feels they've been able to maybe clutch this round, but 2 ults again used. They do not care to save these ultimates in this game. The turret won't find much up until now.
Isaac does have time to take this one at a time. And the recon bolt is really helpful. 2 swarms tossed.
Get rid of the op.
Ooh, Riku is going to watch on the outside here and get it done himself. Glazers up to 6. It's not even about the util that YFP has had to commit on these defenses. It's just the presence that you have to apply on A and mid when Glazers just aren't touching it with a 10-foot pole. You have to spread yourselves out so much.
This is why this timeout is so important, because I thought 4 rounds ago we would see this, but it's only happening now. YFP surely will be changing things up into this next round, and the Glazers have to read into that too. They're going to change up their next strategy here. They can't go for the slow approach on B at all for the rest of this half. Surely now Penny's going to be holding B main. Surely now Physics going to have a little bit more of an active presence early round. And Riku could essentially go wherever he wants. He's been changing his utility up. But that mid presence still needs to be watched by somebody. You have 2 controllers that can easily deny that line of sight and stall back YFP. I'm sorry, the Glazers. You have to show it off now, though. And look, there's no better time to bring that out too, Tenrek. You have the Viper's Pit. You have the lockdown. Honestly, even using preemptively here wouldn't be a bad option. If the Glazers like to run out the timer, well, you can run it out even more with the lockdown.
It's such a shame, too, because YFP is completely understanding of the fact that it's not about stopping, it's about, like, skidding. the Glazers, right? It's about that procedural slowdown for those pushes. That's just kind of how Icebox operates. As frustrating as it can be, as grating as it can feel to just have to continue backing up after you throw everything into the frontier, that's just your job, especially for the double controller base up B long. Anyway, here's Waterwall.
But I would argue Icebox has changed. And while maybe not on a grandiose macro scale, it's different. This is the time to play around with the new changes. Look how much more defender-sided YFP can use B main. Penny's pushed up.
I love this from Penny.
And Moose is there for the backup just in case.
Owl Drone is only going to catch the front. They're not going to look at Penny first. Penny still has not given himself away. There's the first and can still duck back in time. Nobody has the time to poke their head out. That's such a gorgeous opening kill. And now Glazers, all they really have is the off angles to rotate from. Zachary gonna juggle some guns to make sure that the Glazers have the arsenal they need to still push this A site that ultimately is kind of unoccupied still. The amount that YFP had to toss into this B site may now be spat right back in their faces. Toxic Screen has minimal slowdown and the high ground is still under the control of the Glazers. They cannot take Heaven yet. They cannot take Screen yet. But this guarantee of the plant is also not substantial enough. Huge Vuln on that Snakebite from Jonah to get some extra slowdown, but Zachary will still get the plant and duck back into the entryways. The hard part is done. Now Glazers just have to spray and pray it. Lockdown in reaction though from YFP. Now comes the team in tow. How much util do you toss before? How much do you toss after? This spike lineup is still pretty easy to work with if you're the Glazers, but how long can you prosper, especially when this lockdown has thrown you away?
Here's the thing, you have the space now from KJ. You can Viper ult directly on top of it.
Inside the cove!
Jonah!
The cove never got broken! YFP just made it work!
Oh, what a roller coaster of emotions. I thought for sure, look, they don't care to save their ultimates. Surely the lockdown's gonna give enough time for Jonah to push onto the spike, go for the Viper's Pit, make Riku's op completely nullified from the top belt. Not the case, but instead, YP got one of the sneakiest diffuses I've seen so far in the qualifiers. But I love these changes from YFP. It's up to the Glazers now to adapt. They want to challenge this again, but Penny has the operator now, taking a much more defensive stance compared to before. Now that cascade was super strong from Bones. It isolated Penny, and it gave a false sense of security to the Glazers. Might not work twice, though. Mid, though, for the Glazers has yet to be touched. And while donuts oftentimes have icing, there's a lot of ice on this map, but the cold plays from both these teams has to amalgamate back over to A site. Alarm bot shutting down any sort of mid presence here. Draining out that clock once more. I'm still having my eyes on Jonah with that Viper's Pit. Easy to shut down the entire back line.
Now with the knife. That's the sign for Glazers to hop in. Fragment tossed into Screen to force Physic away. There is a time, it is now, for the Glazers to enter in the 2v5. No default plan, a little close and personal. That drone is going to turn into the showstopper, grab Physic and guarantee the low ground, as well as sight. Moose doesn't have to play keep away, can actually get the early pick on the drone after he gets a little greedy, and will hop back up to Heaven so that Penny can help with the crossfire. Poor guy is still holding on to the operator, but it's good enough to grab Zachary, now sitting alone with the blades in tow. Has to grab these last two. Riku watching steadily. Swarm tossed. Again, enough keep away played here, and has the angle to suffice. Ange was already on the wraparound anyway. It was a done deal. Glazers enough to carry through, and they got to figure out a way apart from the lockdown to repel this squad enough.
The opping KJ, we are just getting so many screams of 2021 in this game so far. It's a great throwback. Did you know that Snowman has a name? Yeah, it has a name. What was it? The level designer when Icebox first came out, I think on social media said it was Sunny.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, he's a cute little guy.
That's a nice one. I like that one.
Shock dart down early. Making sure no one can push up too aggressively
spike
against the Glazers.
Yeah, I mean,
back to the same old, same old.
The double blast pack from drone is always a factor, so you kind of just have to cover your bases a little bit here.
Yeah, makes sense. But B-side has been really tantalizing for the Glazers. They love to challenge this, and I don't blame them. It's a little bit more difficult to push into this, especially, again, which was normally 1 or 2 controller inputs. Nothing to be seen, though. Viper's Pit was used somewhere.
As
far as the Glazers know, they don't know where it is, though. We know. We're the all-seeing eye. We're the watchers. But that alarm bot's going to promote the double swing from back yellow. Maybe not.
How much of an audience is on yellow? It's Bones. And a standing ovation given. Yellow taken over. Okay.
Oh,
I don't know how you find that, man, but kudos. I mean, yeah, YFP, they have no real way to re-breach this. They kind of just have to search for something. They have to wait for somebody to poke their head out, but I mean, it's going to be Riku who's doing that, and he has an operator, so it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it's just the Viper's Pit there was really questionable. No real information to garner the Viper's Pit other than just silence.
And not even up the nose. It was on site too.
Yeah, that was also strange. It was like for backside control. So I guess if you want to give up A and allow like the attackers to push in, plant, I guess, nest, and then it would maybe allow a safe passage from like maps into sight, I guess. But I'm mostly thinking about Physic, right? You have the info gathering utility. You're the one that should be saying, okay, I need to arrow the most common places we have seen these attackers at the beginning of the round. And it just feels like the Glazers are able to get away with the first 45 seconds to a minute for free because the arrows haven't found much. So I'm going to keep a careful eye on Physic's utility this round and see where this recon bolt will go. It has to land. It has to find a presence here this round.
It's going to get tossed into mid. Glazer's going to take their sweet time with this A entry. In pops drone after this knife has been tossed in. Inside the orb to break free. To help us screen down maps, though, Glazers don't really have to do any heavy lifting so far. First plant negated by the Hunter's Fury. That's going to get finished off by Physic.
Fragment now tossed.
Hunter's Fury tossed in response by Zachary. That's going to find Jonah and Physic. Now you guarantee one at least behind maps. And it's gonna be the guarantee of 2 here that drone can just hold it down for. No! Bones and Moose can actually come from heaven. And the Reckoning tossed in from Bones too. Zachary can shut that one down, but bad timing that Penny will take advantage of. Now just the 1v1 versus the op-wielding Riku. And Spike is not planted, but Penny does not know where Riku is. No guns available unless he wide swings this. I don't know. I think he can grab a Vandal without being spotted here. But Riku has to check so much along the way. He's watching boxes. It's going to be an ethereal read here if he gets it right. Around the box and the flop! The whiff, Penny! Oh, thank God!
It hurts. Everyone's so heavy.
Last round before the switch.
All right.
I think that play just took some years off of my life, but it was worth it. I mean, just seeing through the highlights of Riku slowly approaching with the op, it's like, I'm trying to think of the best example. It's like a boss in a video game, right? Where it's like they're slowly approaching. They're looking for any angle they can find, right? They're just like this super being.
Mr. X type.
Yeah, but like at the very end, Riku having that operator, not much of a presence when everyone else goes so fast and so scrappy and dies. Last round of the half already. Time flies by. Mid this time having a little bit more of a stronger presence. They're just trying to rotate a little bit more to free up that opposition top of kitchen to allow the B-side plant to be a little bit easier than before. Just to change things up. But Moose is aware. Knows full well there has to be an adaptation this round.
Very minimal util thrown off rip here. The Glazers really don't want to hand anything over, but the knife will guarantee yellow. YFP willing to hand that space over in favor of keeping that pocket. Oh, Moose. Solid angle, bro. That's massive.
The Viper wall never even went down.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Penny, no flick, though. Drone can frag back. And Riku still has this presence in tube, so YFP remain uncertain here in this final round of the half.
Problem now is precision. You enable him to get a kill here, even Riku, right? 2 very important ults to get on site and hold for the post plant. YFP, they have to play long range if that's the case.
30 seconds left.
The reliance on this op needs to be shown.
Precision is down low, so is Moose.
Planted.
Legs getting shot down, but Bones can win the duel.
No lockdown.
And now it just comes down to the B site. YFP the re-entry. Jonah, the shot from Snowman. Finally, these wide angles are working. And the water wall gonna split this site in twain, but Drone attempting to breach in front of it can grab Moose, up to Bones, on the trail for the ace, Physics shuts it down, and now it's Precision to save the day. 1v2 with such low health, cannot get it done, and YFP will end the half on a high note, 4-8 going into the swap.
And that's why Hopper's one of my favorite post-plant agents to bring out. Sure, you know, he doesn't have that mainstay presence like a Viper or a Brimstone, right? But the fact that he can make such unique walls, like how Precision was locked out at the end of that last round, means you really can't do a lot. Normally you can spray maybe through a Viper wall because you've seen it so many times, you know the usual pacings, but when Bones' wall curves in and out like a snake, it's so hard to find the proper angle and really any leverage to push through, let alone when you're slowed if you try. But now the side swap. The Glazers have some utility to work with here, but again, I'm mostly focused on this double controller comp. Their big advantage now is information. They can set one initiator on one lane of the map and find so much value. Even the KJ turret locked down on A promotes value from belt side. That means you have info everywhere now for the defense, and YFP, they have to be on the back heel! Oh no.
Panic mode for YFP. Snakebite tossed in response, and Jonah can use it to pop back onto Drone. Penny trying to go the long way, and Zachary can shut that down too. The Glazers can restabilize for the most part, and will back away. Play for the long haul, as one does here. Jumping back, Zachary isn't able to make it. And YFP, the rushdown may work in time. They may be able to just bulldoze this, especially with the help of the water wall. They're just gonna hop right in, and Precision can't land the shots. It's down to Ange next on the box, can't do it either. YFP, they're gonna make it work. First tap to try to bait out the last remaining member, that is Riku, still on full health. Bones gonna stick it, might be the death of him, no. Gonna be able to get it down and play for the long haul. First swarm tossed, Riku can counter it, but still, that means position is known. And the cascade, also the guaranteed slow, means that Riku once again has to tap, bait, wait, see if anybody makes a mistake, and they won't. YFP, perfect heads, perfect one-ways, perfect timing in this 3v1. They will keep it all and make it a 5-8 game.
I mean, Riku did not want to give up that pistol round. He did everything he possibly could to hold on and fight for yellow. But again, just right now, the attackers, that coordination, taking site control, Haber being brought out, dividing the line, not even just the reliance on Viper anymore, but sandwiching defenders is going to be so important as we continue on to this half. Force buy now from YFP, a Guardian in Penny's hands. Not quite the op, but good enough to maybe contest Boiler early on. Boiler, you have the options. Do you want to go mid? I'm sorry, do you want to go B? Do you want to go A? It's really up to this opening fight against the KO. Poison Orb's open though. Riku's on the other side. Any sort of damage right now would be huge against Penny. Pick your poison. They choose neither. The holy grail of kills may still be looming. It's all a waiting game. Let's see. Moose. Playing a dangerous game. Riku, they could do a whole lot here. They're playing off of timing perfectly. Audio cues are out. Unsuspecting Moose.
So deep here, and it's enough to get the job done down mid. Rest of YFP can just bulldoze on A because of that. A split push that took a lot of prep and a lot of patience, but ultimately the Glazers let go of too much prematurely, and it leads to YFP dominating even more than they intended to. This bonus is looking really good for them.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how YFP play out this bonus. They're playing the same exact opening beats as the Glazers had done. Slow. But the key difference in that slowness is that they're taking space in the process. The Glazers, when they started their attack, they were looking for the defenders to push out and take these wild and brazen swings. And YFP recognize now they have to be the ones to set the tempo. Jump peek from Precision. And just there to follow. They have spotted Penny. They're trying to communicate in jumps. But look at this disengagement now.
Yeah, again,
YFP,
it's so slow.
Yeah. And that spike is dedicated towards B, but I don't know if that's where it's going to land. There's been a lot of lurks now, especially from what we had seen before. Moose playing around towards Boiler, towards mid. The cascades are open. There's a lot of util given away. And right now, the rest of these YFP folk on A side are waiting for the long-term flank. It's gotta be this round with the rifles, right? YFP, they just want to get rid of those rifles.
It's all about, again, biting off more than you can chew. That was the Glazers' MO that made their attack very lethal. YFP, it's all been about patience and then just absolute domination. Precision's been given away, and a couple shots taken by Penny, and sees that as the window of opportunity to fire back. Huge start here. And Drone taking down the 1v2 as well. So far, so good for Glazers. Now it's Riku's turn to activate, and Bones is a little early on that. Physic, the only one left, 5 measly health points. See if you can maybe crack one more body. Definitely possible, but you got a lot of AoE to deal with. A couple pot shots taken towards every wallbang in the book, and the second you're found out, it's Jover. Glazers keep 4 stable for 9-6.
I mean, the fact that we didn't see the Glazers over-rotate when there was so much controller util dumped down on B site is impressive. Drone stuck near 410 the entire round and was just waiting for the opportunity for someone to go for a sneaky play. Most teams, when they see Viper util, Harbor util, the whole thing being slewn out on B site, you're going to over-rotate. But the Glazers, they have those anchors. And I love anchor players like that. That means there's no site given for free anymore. Rifle v rifle now. First time we've seen it. No showstopper available yet for the Rays, but we could see maybe a little bit more aggression. No, not even the nade. Disengagement. Playing off that Viper wall. As soon as audio is heard or even that orb picked up, it's going to be Viper wall city.
I want to hold on to it all until the very last second. To confirm how much of YFP is still here. Glazers do not have to leave. Can continue holding down heaven pretty safely. It's all about making sure you don't leak. You don't let yourself go.
You have to keep Bones safe. Bring that cove up. Impossible to break apart, at least in time, in theory.
First flush. Drone is stuck downstairs, can take care of Penny. Rest of YFP invades. Moose on a tear from beyond the key here. On that high ground, so crucial. We'll give enough time for Bones to get that spike down, as Ange is the only one remaining here for Glazers. Only one snake bite in the tank here. Just guaranteeing that lack of flank. There isn't one. He knows it. He knows how fragmented all 3 of these players' health are. He knows how dangerous that is, but the alarm bot has spotted him. Ange vulnerable for just a couple more seconds. There is that snake bite to flush out. And Bones is able to get the drop. First, Glazers punished just enough. YFP keep 3 up for round number 16.
I'm glad we saw the protection coming through for Bones. Just making sure that no controller goes down immediately. Really enabling just that post plant holds, making sure no space is available for the Glazers, especially not for free. The buys this round are interesting. Both of which the Sheriffs are on A side. They're expecting this A side fast aggressive play. There's not going to be enough time to pick up the orbs either, so Drone and Zachary can't farm it up. They have to play clay pigeon hunting right now. And they want to play that crossfire angle to shut down the entry.
Sent up shot very quickly, but YFP, they might read
they
that.
Purposely got spotted.
Wow.
No, did they?
They
did.
I think that was purposeful. Yeah, YFP, they're keyed up on B main here. And despite the screen being set up, that reveal from the recon bolt may keep those 2 sheriff holders on A for a couple more crucial seconds.
It wastes the owl drone.
YFP,
no information.
Yeah, they feel so much more comfortable on this site, and they don't know that the drone's been committed here, so they don't know how much the Glazers know about. But that was a nice angle. That was really pretty.
The observers have been killing
Thanks,
it today.
guys. That was sick as hell. Around yellow we go, and oh, don't do it.
Bolts out.
Don't do it, dog.
Out,
oh, dog. Oh, Penny's just gonna go in on this. Nothing found yet.
The great escape!
Yeah, somehow got out of there, but now the Hunter's Fury tracking everyone down main. Does a whole lot of chip to Jonah and Moose in particular. Everyone on YFP, save for Physic on Scraps, and he is going to be the one to get that spike down as Glazers are... I mean, they have to be comfortable playing for this retake, and now,
Hunter's
you know,
Fury.
sans Hunter's Fury, the question is, how do you get back on here? You have to wait for this knife to come through, and oh, in a perfect world, you wait for Drone to flank, but with the help of that alarm bot and Physic holding it down, it's tough to do even that. Glazers just have to utilize the walls, the help of the toxic screen that they themselves did not set up. And it means that they gotta throw the orb in as well. Riku gonna toss the first half, and now the Hunter's Fury launched onto Spike itself, just to waste a little more time. Huge swing from Yellow, a triple swing that is completely shut down by Moose and Penny.
Try harder.
A final last-ditch effort from the Glazers that doesn't even materialize in more than one kill this round. YFP playing swift catch-up this half.
Dude, I know Penny 17 and 14 isn't the craziest stat line in the world, but the fact that he's getting so many impactful round-altering kills has been phenomenal. Round after round, perfect replay right there, the overview, the way he snakes around Yellow, completely swerves everybody, and is able to get this micro flank around the triple swing that otherwise could eliminate a lot of teams despite the weaponry. In the post plant there, Penny saved the day. And now it's the timeout for the Glazers. Buys are not looking so good into this next round. Ult's a little worse for wear, though we have Drone possibly could get the showstopper here. And we did see how late round Drone and Zachary were able to protect themselves to farm up the ult, so Zachary could get the Hunter's Fury early on. But otherwise, right now it's up to just playing anti-YFP. Where are they going to go next? We need that information. And I want to re-emphasize, too, that the lack of information shouldn't be a thing for Glazers' defense. They have Precision's KO, they have the Recon Bolts, and they have, even if you want to go as far down, you have Riku's turret, and you have Drone's Boombot to find so much. But a Death Ball here, just watching, trying to play the firing squad down mid could be a good strat. But this also could promote a really nice retake and flank.
This is a very brave hold by Moose. But this is right up his alley, too.
No, this is perfect. He's not going to get spotted. He's got the turret too to be that secondary contact.
He's so good for one here.
He's aiming a little too high.
That's a little high, buddy.
Precision. If she still gets that headshot, that would be the craziest kill I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, YFP wants to make themselves known here so Precision can poke his head out. Oh, Moose is getting a little impatient.
Engaging.
Seeing if the lurk is still happening. They don't know if Precision's there or not. There's that opening kill. So if there's a time for the Glazers to crunch, it's now. But they'll back away again. Maybe they read Moose. Oh, still watching this. Now Precision comes out as the rest of the push comes through. And yeah, now Moose has dealt with it. Now the rest of YFP comes screaming in. Nothing is stopping them. And yeah, you can say the exact same on site. It's a flawless round for YFP, and we're tied up at 9.
Absolutely. What a round from YFP. I mean, again, full thrifty round from the Glazers. Not a lot to really work off of here. But off of their tack timeout, this is where we need to see the changes. And remember, it was a struggle for YFP to find those adaptations on their own defense until towards the end. The Glazers, they've been more apt to switch people around, be much more maneuverable when it comes to rotating sites, but it's just being caught off guard seemingly and losing these initial fights have been detrimental to their defense. A split push for A is going to be interesting here. Penny, no, doesn't, okay. I'm watching their YouTube. I thought for sure he would try to go top of Boiler, but instead he's fighting for mid control on the cross, faking to B, so everyone else can cross into A for free side. No way, dude. What is that play?
That is such a scattershot defense now, but Precision is able to line things up and at least get rid of the two that are fully breaching. Now Penny, stuck alone, is forced to fight too, and Drone is the one to get that kill. The Glazers are able to circumvent everything except the site control, which now YFP are going to hit a 2v4 for. Bones has so much to watch, though, namely the showstopper that Drone's going to use and not even get killed for. Physic, of course, only good for one, and the Glazers can restabilize and grab the lead back.
I mean, it's smart for the Glazers to hold mostly mid and float. They don't have to dedicate themselves purely to B unless you have Riku's utility, which he does on B site. Everybody else is free to go wherever they want and, you know, hunt down that initial contact and make mid site a little bit less of a stable option for the attack. I mean, Penny, any other round he would have played for mid would have been a fantastic play. But the Glazers was ready for mid. They were ready for a change. And now into this next round, early conditioning wall for that. Viper comes down yet again. 3-stack change yet again. No mid control. Outside of potentially Riku and Kitchen. And even then, that turret is foregoed back over to B site.
Toxins going up.
The expectation now is that YFP won't be scaling up mid, or at least they can have that floating presence for the defense. It's slow anyways. Gives enough time for these defenders to rotate, right?
Yeah, I mean, Glazers want to make mid as trivial as possible. They don't want to, I mean, they don't want to have to multitask already more than they already are.
Why are you going to fight this head on, right? You have your Viper's pick, you have the null command. You don't want to make this harder on yourself than it needs to be. Owl Drone, Audio Cue, bringing it on top of pipes. That hasn't changed from the rework. One of the best spots you can Viper's pit in the game. So much coverage.
Yeah, that's a massive guarantee for Ange, but the lockdown thrown in response.
All part of the plan. Sure, yeah, you might lose the Viper's pit. That stinks, but you know what? No command!
Oh, yeah. No, it's a
checkmate for a checkmate for a checkmate, Enrag.
Yeah. No, I love these double sacrifices, and it's leading to now the rest of the Glazers coming from the flank. How well does it work? Finding Physic, and now they've revealed themselves, but there's so much presence. Riku up to 3. Still these pokes working out, still alive, but for how much longer? Jonah shuts it down. And the 2v3 back on target. The Viper's pit still down A site, and so YFP understands how much commitment is still on this site. They will re-breach through mid and attempt to take over this B site now. Just heading through tube, the two of them. They still have a pit as well in the pocket. And they're going to use it to take over the right side of B site.
Oh,
they have not cleared Precision. They're going to get pinched here unless one of these players can hold it down. Precision is right in front of this, though. Oh, who pokes out first? Who's going to go for it?
Game.
Precision is waiting. Ange is in and can take down Penny. Jonah versus the world, and the recon bolt catches him. Glazers make it work, and it's 11-9.
You couldn't ask for a better round if you're the Glazers. You got rid of so many impactful ultimates against YFP, and you forced them in the backhand where they had to maneuver and adapt themselves so late into a round, and that's not something they've had to necessarily do up until now. 2 defuses in a row. No longer YFP taking site control and relying on the retake potential from the Glazers and being caught off guard or out-fragged can be the case. It's these changes over and over again. We're not seeing the same exact holds anymore. Riku has that lockdown. Unlike what we could have seen last round, there's no immediate counter unless Physic can farm for ults and get a kill, or plant for the spike. B could be so appetizing here for Physic if he can do both of those and have Hunter's Fury for post-plant.
Oh, Precision.
Riku.
Gun spotted. Penny down. Jonah in. But Precision is right in the middle of this, and nobody is watching Jonah's back. The push is completely shut down. Now it just comes down to that B-long presence, though, and Ange is the only one standing for it. So with the help of that wall, YFP can at least take over B-site to an extent. But they've got to plant Spike in the process, and there's still these swarms. There's still this turret on top of it. Plan is committed to.
Just Fury for free.
Yeah, they're able to just let this go. And now comes the post plant. Now comes that hold from the boxes. YFP feel a lot more capable with this now that they don't have to be spaced out in the first place. And then Hunter's Fury available for Physic. They can play the long game if they want to, which is why Glazers, they have to breach this. They have to get in there. Bones has to play bodyguard here and is doing a pretty good job so far. Zachary gone, now the wall on top to make sure that there's just so much caution that goes into this. Ange going for it. Moose is the one to shut it down. And now it's just a desperation plea into Spike here. Drone the first shutdown and is not able to do the rest without defusing in time. Can at least get the remainder of YFP, which is huge for the long run, but it is still YFP's round, and it is still Drone's body in the process. Wow, complete pandemonium and utter destruction this round.
No survivors. I want to talk about Drone's pathing in the post plant there because it was so interesting. He was attempting to go for the flank towards the beginning from A site to B. He was just barely in range of hearing Moose drop that alarm bot down inside of B main, doubled back around into mid, and was enabled to bring it back and, well, not able to flank anymore, but still had that presence to join the Glazers in that gigantic firefight. And now Riku again, we talk about that off presence. There's the lockdown still.
Standing ahead.
YFP, they want to secure this round, and they've been able to do so well on A site. They are gonna 5-man push so quick.
Oh, and they're gonna hunt down Zachary with the help of that recon bolt. Hunter's Fury fully launched, and now Zachary's just been tossed into the cubby that Penny is gonna finalize. Bones on the front line, and YFP see the go signal. They are in, and they are hungry. Reckoning tossed for good measure. And Physic on the flank watch for good reason. Precision is standing, has taken down the turret, and will now back away. Bones the plant. YFP look squeaky clean this round so far.
Do you invest the lockdown? Look how far away Riku is now. Save city.
Absolutely.
Population 3. Well, even the operator's frozen
Yeah,
over.
that's.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, feels appropriate.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Riku's been ice cold.
yeah, an 11-11 game here. That both teams are now kitted to take to the end as well. I mean, I don't think you could ask for a better conclusion to this, because the Glazers have proven that they are able to retake this site, which is something that YFP had a lot more trouble doing, at least until the later portions of this game. But the fact is, the Glazers, util-wise, they don't necessarily need that much to re-push at this point. Their presence, even to a mild extent, has been more than enough because of their maneuvers and their lurks.
Ooh, a technical pause.
First one of the stream. Wowzers.
Okay. Well, it's just drum it up.
Yeah, of
Get
course.
the emotions ramped up. Well, I guess now is a good time to ask. So 11-11, right? We have a pretty good indicator about the two teams. YFP, a little bit more aggressive at times. They do take it slow in the beginning. The Glazers, they've had a pretty consistent curve on both sides. So here's the thing. Do you think this goes to map 3?
Time out.
I'm trying to think of how, because I don't think Split is going to be any less close than this.
Yeah,
I
agree.
don't see a world in which we don't also go to, I don't see a world in which we don't go to overtime here, personally.
Yeah,
I also don't see a world in which we don't go to overtime and Split. I think this has 100% potential to go to map 3. It really comes down to just like micro on those post plants, especially in this round, with that Hunter's Fury available for Zachary and the lockdown for Riku. The Glazers, I mean, the pressure is really on them to carry this home, and it doesn't come from from the preventative play that works so well in kind of chipping away. It comes from the util diff. It comes from using those ultimates to space out and then time out the opponent before you can actually get those kills, and then diffusing. It is arduous, but it is very doable.
I mean, to add on top of that too, both these teams right now have to capitalize on mistakes. You talked about micro plays. Yes, macro, micro, you have to find mistakes in both. The problem is that when a team, as a defender right now, the Glazers are recognizing mistakes, it's too late. Drone, for example, had a very good chance of flanking so early on because there was a mistake from Moose. That alarm bot went down just a hair too late. And if he had just been a little bit closer to path his way out of A and capitalize on that, it could have changed the round. But I won't put all that on Drone either. You have to recognize it with each individual player through and through on both sides. I'm really sad that more players aren't taking advantage of the tunnel. I really thought for sure we'd see more of a boiler presence and still aiming down into the top of boiler, which is probably why attackers don't play it too often, is because they can get instantly taken down from that angle.
Yeah, there's the instant one way that scares away a lot of people, regardless of what you have.
Look, analysis aside, I just want to see a 50-50 there.
I mean, it would be great. It would be amazing.
It'd be cool.
You gotta love watching, and I mean, if there is a time to do it, it's a time in which things have never felt more even.
Yeah.
If I asked these 10 players if they wanted to stop playing right now and a coin toss would decide who wins Icebox, I guarantee you at least a couple of them would be like, yeah, all right, fine.
Do you remember way back in the beginning of Valorant when Icebox would be that map and at pretty much any event that would always have the long tech pauses? It's just funny how
it does feel, yeah. That was
it's
kind of
just funny how it comes back into the pool. And we have a tech pause.
I know. Welcome back to Icebox, guys. You miss it?
No, I genuinely love Icebox. I think this is a really cool map. And, I've been kind of gushing about the harbor plays for a while now. And that's part of the reason why. It was so early on. I think even as we were getting into the map, you were talking about how the macro for Icebox is a little simpler. You just kind of rotate. You can take the funnel sites. You can do a little bit more intricacies in the mid round, in mid. You can. But I think there's a lot of depth to this map too that's just difficult to really accomplish with. And I think a lot of it comes down to just, oh, sorry, my camera got messed up a little bit.
There you go.
Well, I'll just sit right here.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I think it might have gotten even worse there, but
oh,
okay.
Well, what do you know?
What are you gonna do?
But at the end of the day, I do feel like Icebox has a lot of depth to it too, and we started seeing more of that again, even from old Icebox to now. The Viper's Pit, either top of 410, on pipes, huge to cover almost all of A site. You have the lurks like Penny. Okay, well, let's not say it's a lurk, but the aggression that Penny brought out by updraft dashing top of 2, looking down into B mid, and then Boiler, and then the A connector mid. You can do so much. I want to see more of that from both these teams.
I think it's really tough because you have to remember how much of that Penny is contributing and how far in you're going. And this is true for the defensive team too. We saw this on YFP's defense for Icebox specifically. The fact that the second you poke your nose in front of that barrier, you're wasting time if you're not guessing correctly. That's how like Icebox is so mean to you if you're not on the right site. And so if Penny happens to hobble up to 2 here, and there's no coverage on pedestal, there's no coverage in kitchen, there's no coverage on mid, you've used a tailwind, you've used an updraft, and you've gained mid presence that you can't really evolve into anything because everyone's already watching the linear sites anyway.
That's true. Counterpoint. That's why we're seeing ults used
Exactly,
so
yeah.
commonly.
Now, yeah, it's not even close to... What? What?
Okay, Riku, they're incredible.
Oh, there's your one-way. Drone is able to shut it down from Tube. Penny is gone, and YFP is stuck in T now. Glazers winning everything there. Despite so much clamoring to get outside, to even get a sight line up. 100's Fury and a couple shots taken just denies all of it.
What can Physic do here?
Okay.
Oh,
Pop off,
okay.
King.
Okay, good start.
One
good
more,
start.
maybe? One more? Mayhaps?
Might be down.
I mean, you got a plan here. 2 shock bolts. 25 to go. Ooh, good damage on the paint shells.
No real information necessarily to work off of, except for the skirmish in mid earlier.
Big swing. Nothing doing. Drone, 4 kills for the round. Jeez. I mean, that was a statement piece by Glazers for this defense, and it's game point for him.
Yeah, switching it up. That's exactly what we need to see. And I think the Glazers, both defensive teams struggled for a little bit trying to find ways to really innovate themselves on the fly outside of their strat book. And I think just pushing down mid is a play that we finally got to see. Riku especially, that was such a glorious shot. Through the poison cloud, you couldn't ask for anything better. Taking tube control as well, a perfect read off of a pause to maybe kind of formulate that up. Drone is 29 and 16, by the way. That is such a good scoreline. But now
he's just getting in front of you. Like it's so impossible to avoid him. He's more mobile than Penny has been at this stage. I imagine he just feels a little more free because Penny has to play with this double initiator core or not double initiator, with the double controller core that YFP has kept themselves on. It's such a dilated attack. But with the double initiator, with Precision just tossing a knife in, Drone knows he's just fighting a bunch of people in wheelchairs when he walks in.
Oh? Showstopper was used and didn't find much. Cascade's open, trying to sell the fake mid. There's full KJ util, including the turret. Don't forget that. That should be first contact for the Glazers to work off of. Pings are out in mid for the attacking team. The rotate, the value, what can they find? Poison Cloud's open. It's a 50-50 now inside 2.
Jonah
Huge!
wins it.
Now there's a lurk!
That's massive. Yeah, I mean, that's presence you can maintain for the rest of the round. You don't even have to commit to A site now if you don't want to, but that's what they're gonna do. Cove is tossed. In response, all the KJ util is let fly, but Physic can still get this spike down in the end. Cove's still not broken yet. YFP have a lot to work with for this post plant. And Glazers, I mean, all they have is the lockdown. They can space this out. They made this work before, or YFP did rather, and they were able to just lock it down, but that's because they had a Cove on top of that spike, on top of that plant. Not only are you no longer on that high ground, you don't have an unbreakable smoke, but you do have this lockdown still, and there's no real way to instantly deny it. But you can instead just kill literally everybody in front of it. Now, all that's left is the lurk, so YFP have no trouble heading on back to where Ange is confirmed, denied, instantly killed, and off we go to overtime. Surprise, surprise.
Switching sides.
You know what?
Overtime.
I'm not complaining. I think, overtime here on Icebox, 2 teams who have played fairly similarly, but just different enough to separate themselves into like their own little, I guess strategic personality would be the right word to say. it's so interesting to see when we have this back and forth between both teams, because I don't think, unlike our last series where we had an overtime and it was only defender-sided wins, I think it will bounce between both roles. I don't think there'll be a definitive side that confirms who wins for overtime here. Great Zippo replay again. I mean, just the massacre, holding very specific angles, hidden away. That is the classic for both these duelists. Keep in mind, too, both these duelists have been playing Valorant essentially since release in competitive play. Drone all the way back was on TSM, and I mean, Penny was on version 1 way back, too. They have been around for so long, they know this well, maybe not OG Icebox anymore, this modified Icebox, like the back of their hands.
Penny's op is going to get confirmed early on. Again, a very, like, brunt chokehold that he's trying to get on early, but has to duck back. And Glazers are heading to B side anyway, but there's a lot more mid-presence than normal. Riku to the window!
That's what I wanted to see.
Hey there! Like an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
The MacGuffin? No way.
Oh, it's been handed over, yeah. Now Riku holding from the tube, not watching for Physic, and there's the refrag. The Glazers still have yet to enter, but worthy trade for sure. No KJs on the field at all. And so now YFP have to launch a lot more earlier on, and now you don't have Bones either! You have no Cove! You have no second wall! Glazers,
that's rough.
They're weathering the storm so well right now to the point where by the time they actually need to push, they won't really need to do much else.
Oh, guess what? Penny's already rotated. Oh, they just stop him! Beautiful shot! The Glazers, they're stuck. There's no place to go. They have to plant deeper in, but Physic's already there. Jonas ready for the wide swing.
Oh, no wide swinging allowed here for Glazers. Coverage at every angle. Now for Ange.
10 seconds left.
Cut down just a little bit. Has 2 different ones to manage. Jonah is gonna get it done himself. And YFP grapple back in the defense. Can they make it work one more time and get over the line?
I have been a fan of YFP's attack so far this game. I think they're the ones that have been able to find a little bit more in the early rounds, say, compared to when the Glazers push. They're able to make a lot more tempo-setting plays and kind of get the ball rolling. So if they want to do that now is the time to do it when the Glazers are just pressed against the wall. And they have to play to their absolute best here. 4-stack once again. Instead of Moose this time being the flank watch, they're going to leave that to Jonah to fake the wall B site. There's that cascade open too. Confusion all around. The Glazers, where do they rotate to? They have to worry about 2 different sites at once.
Right here.
And that means there's no definitive presence of that spike just yet. That means numbers are sprayed away across the entire map. 3 at most now on A, compared to 5, or I should say 4, soon to be 5 for for A site.
When you commit to this huge flash off a rip, both sides panicking, but nobody really turning ahead except for Physic, who's able to take down Drone. Ultimately, Glazers aren't super pressed about this. Down to a minute left, YFP does have a lot of decision-making to do, and not too much util to do it. And if Riku is able to grab a snipe along the way, then that's certainly helpful too. 1 down, 4 to go, and Ange is in tube, taking down Moose as well. Once again, KJ gone, massive for the long run. Bone's gonna toss out this wide wall here, and Riku is gonna be forced to breach early since nobody else from the Glazers are home on B site. 3 plant for YFP, but the post plant is a much bigger question. The double controller desperately trying to hold it back as Penny is holding way back on the flank watch.
Oh, if Jonah can get 1 more kill, that's Viper's Pit down on Spike. A huge leverage factor, denying Riku the op.
Yellow's completely shut down. First snakebite tossed on. They know the Glazers have to come for this, but they aren't checking long. Zachary for 1, Riku for 1 as well. It's coming down to just Penny, who is still on the way back, and he's giving himself away with a Cloudburst. Zachary gets half of this for free, is gonna fight Precision first, and Precision wins it. Glazers will take us to double overtime.
It's the mid-rounding for both of these teams that are keeping me on the edge of my seat. There's a lot of fakes that YFP are attempting to employ, and it seemed like it should have worked at first, but 2 sets of controller util. The Viper always can bait. Harbor, not so much. And so sticking to their guns, keeping presence on A side and still taking that initial fight, forcing YFP to rotate the B side was so smart from the Glazers. That Spike is not dedicated anywhere just yet, but look at those defensive pings. Tempo setting change for YFP. They're looking to go aggressive. Recon Bolt will confirm it too. An early fight to get rid of those numbers.
Enemy tag. Enemy tag.
Not too much to write home about just yet. Penny again aggressive on this operator.
Oh, Tenrek, the spike is down. That could be bait, but Penny doesn't know it. Someone has to cross.
Not entirely
They
sure
get the spike.
of where they need to commit to. This mid presence is huge. Physic is going to call it out. Here 2 more, and Moose is unchecked. Physic is the one who gets them all, though. 3 for the Sova, and YFP again shut down instantly. And so now the Glazers have to go back to formula, back to A main, back to our 2 little robot friends who have to hold on to this spike.
Keep in mind, too, they don't know about Penny's op.
Oh, now they do. Now they do. Riku's going to be able to dip it. The real opera of the map, as it seems. But will fall after just the 1. The Hunter's Fury toss to try and scope out precision. He's able to dance around it, but can Yadosi do to 4 kills and the W? I do not think so. Here's the easy part, though. Flush out with the fragment. There's Bones gone. Now Moose is next on the chopping block. Knife is huge to be able to shut everybody down. Now he knows. Oh, it's time to leave now. I see.
Oh, there's
25
not
seconds.
a lot of time.
Yeah, this is tough. I think you have to go through 2 here, so YFP should be able to get the easy cutoff.
Through mid. They can just go top boiler.
You gotta
Flashes
flash
out.
it.
Did he flash? Oh, I think the flash was a little too low.
Oh, they were just gonna think he was gonna fake it. No, Precision just W King. It's gonna work
10
out.
seconds left.
Oh, but the nano
no time
swarm.
to fake.
There's 2 swarms. Precision has nowhere to go.
Lava.
Physic is gonna toss the recon bolt too. Precision is gonna get crunched on before he can even fully commit to this spike. He doesn't have the time. YFP is once again on game point.
What are the chances we go 14 and 14? Both
High,
these teams
high.
refusing to give up.
Match
Remember,
point.
this is a qualification series. One of these teams are gonna make it forwards and play a whole lot more Valorant after this. YFP go for a timeout. This is their chance to reset. The nerves are high for both these teams. Yeah, it's map 1, but for a qualification game like this, it's so important. The idea now is to come up with a brand new strat, something that throw the Glazers off guard. Make sure that there's something they haven't expected just yet. That's the $1 million question. It feels like YFP have dug deep down into the strat book, the full gambit. They haven't played a lot with mid, but after the last time they went for a tech timeout, they did play a lot more of a mid presence. Now that they have time to properly talk with their whole team in a real tech timeout, it could be a lot cleaner of a mid-side play this time. Now, big question I have. Does Penny op? Does Riku op?
I think Riku absolutely opts. I think their mid control has been far too powerful to deny. Because, I mean...
The pings.
Oh, wow.
Viper
Okay.
Wall. No, Viper Wall is not going there. Is that the Harbor Wall they're dedicating with those pings?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the Harbor Wall. Yeah, here's the thing. I think
That's risky.
the mid play is so risky for YFP right now because of how you divert. Riku has to be so committal with either the Cove or the Toxic Orb in a perfect world.
The Cascade, though.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, that's been so crucial to these pushes. YFP don't feel the same without it on that front line. I mean, there's the first Cascade already tossed in. The Glazers are ahead of this, though. So they'll at least let go with this. Zachary, really good idea. But luckily, Moose is watching. 5v4, and Penny escapes the knife. On that tailwind, but the fragment's gonna catch him, do a good amount of damage to start things out, and maybe back to the drawing board a little bit for YFP. No, it's Bones who's next in, and now they feel it. It's coming.
2 left.
2 to go, and one of them's holding an op. Certainly not the best conclusion to come to, especially if you miss. Angela 1v5 to save this, and no, YFP will finally break out their pick and take map number 1.
Incredible work from both teams, but YFP, they played so well. It really makes me excited to see what can happen in the next future maps.
I mean, that was such a bloody battle by that point. Everyone was so willing to sacrifice themselves by that point, and that's the attitude you really need to carry yourself into when it comes to Icebox. Just know you're gonna die. Just know it's gonna happen. Don't even think it's probably gonna. Just
Morbid.
be like, I'm going to go down in the process of this. But I don't think we can say the same for Split, which will be our next map. It is the Glazers pick. So really, anybody's series. We're gonna take a couple minutes to cool off. Please grab some water because this series ain't over yet. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.